Have you been trying to grow broad, defined shoulders but self-conscious about the results? It's time to act and build your dream shoulders you've always wanted. In this video, we'll talk about the most effective exercises and strategies to help you add size and width to your shoulders. Welcome back to another video. I'm Brendan Martinez. I'm currently getting my doctorate in physical therapy. Like I just mentioned, we're going to be going over 3 exercises that you cannot afford to skip if you want your dream physique and shoulders. So before we jump into the exercises, let's do a quick anatomy review of the shoulder itself. You have 3 muscles that make up your deltoids. So you have an anterior or front deltoid, you have a lateral or middle deltoid, and then you have a posterior or back deltoid. Commonly, you see a lot of lifters just focusing on their front or middle deltoid and kind of neglecting the posterior deltoid. And this is a huge mistake. Your posterior deltoid is essential if you want well-rounded and sculpted shoulders, and you need a combination of growth in all 3 of these if you want that cap delt look. For each exercise that I go over, I'm going to be explaining why it's beneficial, proper form, and what muscles you're going to be working and what the benefits of that exercise are. Jumping into exercise number 1, we have the barbell overhead press. Barbell overhead press is an amazing compound exercise and is essentially a staple in just about every lifting program that you can find. It's an amazing exercise because it allows you to heavily overload your shoulders, but it also works on your balance and your stability. It's also an amazing exercise to work your core, and this is a very underrated component and benefit of this exercise. Because of everything I just listed, there are so many benefits, and if you currently don't have it in your program, I promise you're missing out, so please add it. Because this is a compound exercise, you're going to be working multiple muscle groups at once. So starting off with what the deltoids are doing, we're going to be primarily working our anterior or front and our side or lateral deltoids. And like I mentioned before, we're also going to be working our core, but you're also going to be hitting your triceps and your upper traps as well. So you're working so many muscles with this exercise. Now before I jump into form and go over how we perform this exercise properly, we need to make sure that you have the shoulder range of motion to be able to safely perform this exercise. A quick way that you can check this is if you lie on your back and you grab either a PVC pipe, a broom, essentially just a straight bar that's light and it's going to mimic what a barbell would be. Then starting with the bar just about at your collarbone, I want you to push overhead and try to fully extend your arms without it being painful. Now, if you're able to do this with full range of motion and without any excessive discomfort or pain, you should be good to go. And now let's jump into the form. So starting things off, we need to make sure that the bar is set to the proper height before we even unrack the weight. Ideally, before you even lift the weight, the bar should be at your clavicle or your collarbone. Once you have that in position, make sure that your wrists are right above your elbows. If you do this properly, this will take the load off of our wrists and help prevent any injuries at the wrist joint itself. Similarly, before you even unrack, make sure that the weight is close and touching. We don't want it level with our collarbone, but 2 to 3 inches in front of you, because that's going to put a lot of force and load through a rotator cuff, which could also lead to injury. Now that we got everything set up, before you actually pick up the weight, make sure you brace and squeeze your core. Next, it's time to press. And before you do this, make sure you look up towards the ceiling to clear a path for the barbell itself. The goal with this exercise is to have a vertical or straight bar path. This is going to avoid putting excess stress on our rotator cuff and once again help prevent any injuries. A common mistake that I see a lot of people do is they keep their head in their normal neutral position. This forces you to bring the barbell in front of your face, causing a more curvilinear or semicircular bar path. And like I mentioned before, this is obviously not the goal. So now that we pressed in a vertical bar path, once you have the weight overhead, I want you to look through and almost push your head in between your arms. This is going to give us just a little bit extra range of motion, but it's going to make all the difference in properly performing this exercise. Like I've mentioned in other videos, full range of motion is essential for muscle hypertrophy, so we want to make sure that we're achieving this as much as we can. Now that you have the weight above your head, I want you to look back up towards the ceiling to once again clear the path for the barbell. And with a little bit of practice, knowing these fundamentals will put you on the right track to properly performing this exercise and also preventing any injuries from occurring. Jumping into exercise number 2, we have cable lateral raises. The cable column is one of my favorite things at the gym. Not only is it versatile and you can do exercises for just about every muscle group on it, but it also provides equal resistance and load throughout the full range of motion. With normal dumbbell lateral raises, it's actually easier at the bottom when initiating the movement, and it's hardest when you're at the top. This will not be an issue with the cable lateral raises because, like I mentioned, it's going to be equal resistance both at the bottom when you're initiating and when you get to the top. Strength and muscle hypertrophy are directly related to the amount of load placed on a muscle throughout the exercise. Therefore, these cable lateral raises will give you the edge and ultimately lead to more shoulder gains. I just want to preface that dumbbell lateral raises aren't bad in any sense, and I perform them pretty frequently. But I think that you should implement cable lateral raises into your exercise program as another accessory to get this added benefit. Now that we know why this exercise is beneficial, let's talk about how you can properly perform it. First thing you want to do is set the cable column to the lowest setting possible. In doing this will allow full range of motion and ultimately more load on the muscle throughout the exercise. The next thing that you want to do is place your feet as close to the pulley system as you can. Then with one arm, I want you to hold on to the cable column and lean away. Similar to the first step, this is also going to increase the range of motion that we have throughout the exercise. Once in this position, I want you to have your thumb slightly up. And this is essentially going to put our shoulders in a more externally rotated position. And this is something that I'll cover a little more in depth in a future video. But all you need to know for right now is that this is going to protect your shoulder and help prevent any injuries. Now I want you to raise your arm to 90 degrees. And the reason I don't want you going further than 90 degrees is because there's not much benefit in doing so, and it's actually going to be using your upper trap more than your deltoid. All right, and that wraps up exercise number 2. Before I jump into the third, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to subscribe and like for more. And if you have any questions, drop a comment down below and I will try my best to answer it. Now it's time for exercise number 3, and in my opinion, this is the most essential exercise to add into your training program if you want overall shoulder growth. And that is the rear delt fly machine. Like I mentioned earlier, your rear delts are essential if you want well-rounded and developed shoulders, and they're often neglected. So this exercise, I promise you, it's gonna light them up. This exercise is amazing because when done properly, it heavily limits the amount of compensation that you get from other muscles, and the majority of the work is being done by the rear delts. So essentially, you're gonna go to a pec fly machine and you're actually gonna sit reverse. Now, before you start moving the weight, I want you to make sure that the bottom of the handles is just about at your nipple level. This will ensure that you're placing your shoulders in a safe position, and it will optimize the amount of rear delt activation. If you have the handles too high or too low, this will recruit more back musculature, primarily your middle trap and your rhomboids. Placing it at your chest or your nipple level will prioritize your rear delts, and it's gonna work them much more. Now all you're gonna do is extend your shoulders, and I promise you, you're gonna feel this right away. Now you may be sitting here watching this video thinking that you don't have this machine at your gym, and that's common because a lot of gyms don't have this machine. So I'm gonna show you another exercise that you can do instead that is also very effective for your rear delts. And these are gonna be dumbbell rear delt flies. All you need for this is to grab a pair of dumbbells. You're probably gonna wanna go light with these. And I want you to sit on the edge of a bench. Then I want you to lean forward, keeping your back straight, and I want you to bring the weight up and back. A lot of people will bring the weight out towards their side, and this is similar to what I mentioned in the previous exercise, where you're gonna be getting a lot of rhomboid and middle trap activation and compensation rather than that rear delt. So going up and back is gonna bring us into more shoulder extension, therefore increasing the amount of work, resistance, and load on our rear delts, ultimately leading to more growth. Implementing all 3 of these exercises into your workout routine will almost guarantee the defined and capped deltoids that you've been chasing after. And if you take it serious, I promise you, you're gonna start seeing the growth that you've been chasing after. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a like and subscribe for more, and drop a comment down below on what type of videos you wanna see next. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.